Today on Across the Fence, the Plainfield Town Hall Opera House is our setting as we look at what happens after Town Meeting Day. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael. Town meeting is over, and as voters, we've elected the municipal officers who will lead and serve our communities in the year ahead. In many towns, an historic facility like this one in Plainfield plays host to town meeting. With the voting over, it's now time to govern, and that means town officials need to know about everything from parks and planning to public works. They also need to learn about laws and regulations while doing their jobs effectively and efficiently. So where do our town government officials get the training that they need? Well, the answer is the Town Officer Education Conferences. And to learn more about those educational conferences, I'm joined by Gary DeZiel. Gary is an assistant professor and community development specialist with UVM Extension, and that's the entity that coordinates the upcoming conferences. Gary, thanks very much for being with us.
Well, I'm pleased to be with you today.
First question right off the top. Let folks know, what are town education conferences?
Well, the Town Officer Education Conferences, or TOEC, are they're trainings and a conference for listers, for select board members, for librarians, for planners, for listers, all sorts of municipal officers. And it's to learn about new regulations. For the state has a big presence there to teach about different things that have changed over the last year.
And it might be something we don't think about a lot, but if somebody gets elected, this isn't something they've necessarily been trained or had a lifetime of preparation to do.
Right. In my town, there's 63 town officers. So often there's new ones, newly elected people that have been there a long time, but it's something that everyone can learn something at. The TOECs this year are April 4th in Fairleigh, Vermont at Lake Morey, and in Rutland on April 11th.
What's the history of the Town Officer Education Conferences?
The history of this is pretty amazing. It's even older than Across the Fence. This is the 74th year. It started right after World War II in 1945, and since that time, it's worked with thousands of town officers across the state.
And some of the most visible positions, we know the town clerk or the treasurer, select board member, and you've touched on this a little bit, but this education opportunity goes beyond that. Who else can take advantage of this in town government?
Well, when you look down the list of officers in town government, there's planners, there's listers, there's librarians, there's all sorts of different roles. And we try to make it so that everyone has an opportunity to learn something at the program. And there's 230 towns, over 230 towns in Vermont, and over 5,000 town officers. So a rich history, a great opportunity, and in keeping with the educational offerings of UVM Extension. That's right. TOEC's UVM Extension's mission is to help people put knowledge to work. Our communities, the people in our communities, and TOEC embodies that to help people learn things, to help do better. And in town government, that's the essence of Vermont. It's how we operate in Vermont. There's no county governments, it's town governments, and that's what our role is.
Very well said. We know that hundreds of people attend the conferences each year. Across the Fence's Keith Silva tells us more about that.
Any nominations?
In Vermont, Town Meeting Day is no quaint annual tradition. It's where the people learn, participate, and decide how their town will be run.
The motion carries.
As for the town officials who will put those decisions into action, their annual meeting occurs at the Town Officer Education Conference, or TOEC. This is Sean Cannon's first TOEC, one first of many for this newly appointed official from Colchester.
Yeah, so I've been working with the town for 3 weeks. Yeah.
I don't have a general or like a specific thing I need to know. I'm just trying to get a general idea of where we are in the state as far as technology and where I could take what I know from my experiences and what I'm learning here to better improve the town.
Unlike Cannon, this isn't John Vickery's first time at TOEC.
I've been coming here probably 15 years, I'd say.
Vickery is assessor for the city of Burlington. He values this annual conference to connect with other assessors and listers.
One of the big easy takeaways is that there's a lot of other listers and assessors around with varying degrees of understanding. Somebody knows the answer, and you have to be reaching out to others in the same line of work, same business, and you need to meet people, and that's a wonderful thing about it. And also, it's networking. One of the things that we always do at every TOECs is that we have what we call a lister forum, where the audience ask any questions related to the work, anything they want. There's no bad questions. That is probably the most popular workshop that we do.
Using technology to increase the public's access to information, like property values or the town plan, is what brought Rebecca Elder here from Starksboro.
I came to TOEC today to learn about new opportunities that we could bring to our town to expand information that we can get out to our citizens and ways that our town office can be more efficient and use technology to move forward.
For small towns in Vermont, where access to the internet is limited, technology isn't a cure-all, and the cost to upgrade isn't always in the town budget.
Yes, there's all kinds of new opportunities available online, but we don't have broadband access in our town, so then how do we utilize this? And I think this gives people a place to come and talk to each other and hear what other towns are doing, if we had the broadband access, it could look like this. What do we do to get to that broadband access? Or if we needed funding to get to this, we could get to a much better system that would help us. I think this kind of environment gives people the ability to talk to each other because we work in our tiny offices and we can be fairly isolated. And it's not until you get to a forum like this where you can speak to somebody, oh, your town has roughly the same number of people and you too are struggling with this. What are you doing with it? What can I learn from you? So I think these kinds of seminars are really important for people to attend.
The goal of TOEC is education. Laws are constantly being changed or amended, and it's the job of the town officer to make sure they have the most up-to-date information.
I think citizens, they want to know regarding valuation that the person on the other side of the table is educated, they understand what they're doing, they have a process, it's clear and it's fair. And you need to be able to present that, show your professionalism, and this helps. These meetings help. I would say at least 50% of the job is interactions with the public. If you are good at that and you have that down, the assessment is important, of course, but you can figure that part out. They want to know that the person on the other side has some confidence, can understand the questions, can answer intelligently, and if they don't know the answer, I'll get back to you on that. Let me check with my network of assessors throughout the state of Vermont.
Cannon may be new to his job, but as he's learning at this conference, keeping people informed is a town officer's most important job.
The thing is to provide as much information as possible, share as much information on our website, on social media, just so we feel like we're connected to the public and they feel like they know a little more about us.
Being informed, involved, and connected. It's key to town government and to the training that goes on every year at Vermont's Town Officer Education Conference. In Montpelier, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Keith. Some interesting perspectives on TOC, and as always, there's something to learn every year. This year, the conference theme is collaboration, cooperation, and dialogue in a 21st century democracy. To go a little bit further, I want to welcome in Jason Broughton. Jason is a member of the conference's planning committee. His full-time job is as the interim state librarian. Let's start there before we get into TOCCs. Tell us a little bit about the Department of Libraries and how libraries strengthen our Vermont communities.
Well, thank you for having me on. The Department of Library has a vision of trying to make sure that information, access, opportunity, and data are available to Vermonters in a way that is universal, and that includes our most vulnerable populations or communities that are underserved. In doing so, we assist our libraries in a variety of ways with consulting, programming, and when applicable, sometimes funding for different types of options. Our libraries, however, are doing some amazing things across Vermont. There are just so many opportunities to engage with your local public library to see what they're actually doing when it comes to early learning, literacy, economics, small business and entrepreneurship, and workforce development. So in some veins, one might even say it's not your grandparents' type of library from when they actually visited. So I would hope that a lot of Vermonters could see the quality of work that a lot of Vermont libraries are actually doing and what they actually can bring to a community.
Now, when it comes to the town officer education conferences, what are some of the key workshops that will be taking place?
I would say we're going to be having 3 wonderful workshops that are going to be extremely beneficial to those who attend. One of the most important is a joint collaboration with the Secretary of State's office called We're All in It Together for public library trustees and select board members on how to be collaborative. Another is the assistive technologies that we can kind of promote and provide information on and access about from our ABLE library, which stands for Audio, Braille, Large Print, and Electronic Resources. It used to be formerly known as the Library for the Handicapped and Physically Impaired. Our last one would be just an overview of the department itself and the Board of Libraries, because what you'll find is it has a unique specific role to some geographic naming in the state of Vermont.
I do need to stop us there as we're just about out of time. Here's the schedule and information. The first of the 2019 Town Officer Education Conferences is Thursday, April 4th. That's at the Lake Maury Inn in Fairleigh. And then on Thursday, April 11th, a second conference being held at the Holiday Inn in Rutland. We've included the website that you need for registration. There's a $65 cost, but if you need financial help, that's available. You can also call the toll-free number on the screen, 800-639-2130. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us today, and our thanks to the folks in Plainfield for hosting us here at this wonderful facility. That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit across the fence.